Hello everyone. In this session we are going to discuss about the chapter Human Eye and Colorful World. So what are the concepts that we are going to study in this chapter? We are going to study here the structure of human eye. Why are we studying here the structure of human eye? Because we are going to understand how the image is formed in our eyes and how are we able to see the objects around us. Then we are also going to understand the power of accommodation of our eyes. Then we are going to learn the different defects of vision and how do we correct them. And then we come across the refraction of light through a optical element, that is prism. Then dispersion of light, that is white light, by a glass prism. And then we are going to understand the atmospheric refraction. Here we are going to study about the how the stars will twinkle. And also we are going to understand the advanced sunrise and delayed sunset here. Then we are going to understand the scattering of light. Here we are going to learn the Tyndall effect and why the color of the sky is blue. The reason behind it we are going to understand. So these are the concepts that we are going to study here. And in the today's session we are going to understand the structure of human eye and power of accommodation of our eyes and also defects of vision and how do we correct them. Now let's understand here the structure of an eye. We know that eye is an very important sense organ. It allows us to see the various objects around us. Eye is an important sense organ. It allows us to see the various objects which are around us. How does an eye looks? Eye looks like this. Yes, as we know, eye is a very beautiful sense organ. It looks from outside in this way. But actually the structure of eye is different. It is spherical in shape. What you are seeing in this picture is an actual structure of the eye. These eyes are located in the sockets of the skull. Yes, actually these eyes are spherical in shape, roughly spherical, with some bulge on outwards like this. And what you are seeing an outer covering, it is called as cornea. It is a thin membrane through which the light enters into our eyes. It forms a transparent bulge on the surface of eyeball. Why we call it as eyeball? Because it is spherical in shape. So often we will refer the structure of eye as eyeball. And this outer covering, which is transparent bulge on the front surface of the eyeball, it is called as cornea. What is the function of cornea? It will allows the light to enter into our eyes and most of the refraction of the light rays entering into the eye occurs at cornea. So it's a thin membrane through which light enters. It forms the transparent bulge on the front surface of the eyeball. Most of the refraction of the light rays entering into the eyes occurs at cornea. And also this cornea protects the eye from dust and bacteria. It protects the eye from dust, bacteria, etc. Then second one is aqueous humor. What is it? It is actually a water-like fluid and it lies between the lens. What you are seeing here is lens. This aqueous humor lies in between the lens and this cornea. Why is it present? Because it maintains the correct pressure of the eyeball. We know that this eyeball is spherical in shape. It is very important to maintain the structure of this eyeball. And it is done by the aqueous humor. It will maintain the correct pressure balance of this eye structure. It is water-like fluid that lies in front of the lens. To maintain correct pressure balance, as I said, this aqueous humor is present in between the lens and cornea. Now, the next component is pupil. You cannot see the pupil here clearly. See this picture. What the black color hole that you are seeing here, it is called as pupil. You can see here the black hole through which the light will enter into our eyes. and it will control the amount of light entering into our eyes. Not always we require the same amount of light entering into our eyes. Whenever we go into the very bright light, what happens? This pupil will decrease in its size, so that only small amount of light will enter into our eyes. Because, for example, if you are going into the very intense sunlight, and when you are looking at the sun, maximum sun rays will enter into our eyes, and all of a sudden when maximum light enters into your eyes, it can damage our eyes, because eye is a very sensitive organ. So in order to avoid this, what happens is this pupil will decrease in size, so that only enough amount of light will enter into our eyes. And for example, if you are seeing any object in the dim light, at that time we require more amount of light to see that object properly. At that time what happens? This pupil, that is black hole, what you are seeing here, it will get enlarged in its size, so that enough amount of light will enter into your eyes and you are able to see the object clearly. So according to the need, this pupil size will increase or decrease. That is, it will control the amount of light rays entering into our eyes. So I said that the size of the pupil will get changed. So I said that the size of the pupil will get changed. Then who is responsible for changing the size of this pupil? It is done by the iris. The part which you are seeing here, the colored part of this eye is called as iris. It's a muscular diaphragm. It will control the size of the pupil. Pupil will control the amount of light entering into our eyes, and this iris will control the size of the pupil. You have to note down the every function of these components of eye. Yes. Now, I said that this is the colored surface which you are seeing here. It is called iris. You can see iris of various colors like brown, black, gray, etc. This color of iris is due to the pigment present in it, that is melanin. That pigment is responsible for different color of the iris. So next is crystalline eye lens, which is the main important thing we have to learn here. Crystalline eye lens, it is actually the flexible convex lens. What you are seeing here, this is the convex lens. What it forms? It will forms the real and inverted image of the object on retina. This surface is called as retina. This convex lens will help in the formation of real and inverted image. Suppose if the object is this, you are seeing this, any person, then how is the image formed on this retina? It will be real and inverted. But you may wonder, but we are seeing the world which is upright. We are not seeing any inverted image. We are not seeing any inverted object here. How come it's possible? It is due to the fact that the image that is formed on the retina is converted into electrical signal first. Then it is sent to the brain. That brain will process this information and it will convert the image into the upright, that is erect image. So this is the lens which is responsible for making the real and inverted image of the object on retina. And the most specialty of this crystalline eye lens is the focal length of this eye length can be changed. This eye lens can become thin or thick based on the position of the object which you are going to see. When you are seeing the object at a far distance from you, this lens can become thin. If you are going to see the object nearer to you, then these lenses are going to be thick, so that the focal length of this lens can be changed. And we are going to see the object, even it may be far away from us or it may be nearer to us. So this is a convex lens. which is present in our eyes. Now, I said that the image formed is on the retina. This is retina. This is the screen in our eyes. Here is the image formed, and this image formed is inverted. And this retina consists of light sensitive cells called as rods and cones. These rods, these are sensitive to light. These rod cells are sensitive to intensity of light. You might have seen, even we are able to see some objects. You might have seen we are able to see the objects even in dim light. How does this happen? Because of presence of these rod cells. And also we are able to see the objects of different colors. It is due to the presence of cone cells. These are sensitive to different colors. Rod cells enables us to see the objects even in dim light, and cone cells allows us to see the objects of different colors. And these cells are light sensitive cells which are present on the retina. Then ciliary muscles. Which are these? I have already said that the focal length of the eye lens can be changed. Means the curvature of this eye lens can be changed. Is responsible for changing the curvature of this eye lens. These ciliary muscles are responsible for changing the curvature of the eye lens. You can see here, these are the ciliary muscles. They will hold the lens in correct position. These ciliary muscles hold the lens in correct position. And also these are responsible for changing the curvature of the lens. When these ciliary muscles are relaxed, then this convex lens will become thin. And when these ciliary muscles are contracted, then this eye lens will become thick. Means its curvature will increases. So it will result in the change in the focal length of the lens. So who is responsible for changing the curvature of the lens and focal length of the lens? Ciliary muscles are responsible for changing the curvature of this eye lens. And why do we need to change the curvature of our lens? Because we want to see the object at different distances. You might have seen in the previous chapter that when the object is kept at different distances, the image was formed at different distances. But we do not want this here. Wherever the object may be, we want the image to be formed on the retina only. Because of which it is very necessary to change the focal length of the eyes. And these ciliary muscles are doing this. Yes, this is the importance of ciliary muscles. Yes, this is the importance of ciliary muscles here. Then, optic nerves. As I said, the image that is formed on the retina is real and inverted. But we see the erect images. We see the objects around us in the erect position only. How does this happen? Because this retina is going to convert this image into electrical signals. And this electrical signal is sent to the brain by these optic nerves. These optic nerves is connected to the brain. These are connected to the brain from retina. The retina is connected to the brain through the optic nerves. And when this information is sent to the brain, it will process this. And when the information is sent to the brain, it will process the information and we are able to see the objects around us. Yes, another one part that we have to understand here is vitreous humor. This space which you are seeing in between the retina and the lens is filled with vitreous humor. It is colorless clear gelatinous liquid which is present between this retina and lens. And what is the function of this vitreous humor? It maintains the shape of eyeball. As I said, it is very important to maintain the spherical shape of this eyeball. And this is done by vitreous humor. And also, this vitreous humor will supply the nutrients to the eye. This is the importance of vitreous humor here. Now we are going to understand the power of accommodation of our eyes. What do we mean by this? It is the ability of our eye lens to adjust its focal length so that we can see the near and far objects clearly. And we know that whenever the curvature of this eye lens is changed, there is a change in the focal length. And the ciliary muscles are responsible for changing the curvature of this eye lens so that the eyes can adjust their focal length. So that the eye lens can adjust its focal length. So the power of accommodation means the power. So the power of accommodation means it is the ability of eye lens to change its focal length to see near and far objects clearly. And who is responsible for changing this focal length of the eye lens? Ciliary muscles. These can change the. Let's see how does this works. Let's see here how the focal length of the eye gets changed by ciliary muscles. Suppose the object is at a far distance from us. Yes, object at far distance. What happens here? The ciliary muscles are relaxed when the object is at far distance. The ciliary muscles are relaxed. And when the ciliary muscles are relaxed, the eye lens will become thin. What happens when the eye lens become thin? The focal length of the eye lens will get increased. And we are able to see the distant objects. See here, our eye lens is not made up of a glass like what we have studied in the previous chapter. It is made up of a fibrous jelly-like material, so that the curvature of this eye lens can be changed by the ciliary muscles because of its flexibility. Now we want to see the objects which are far away from us and also see the images which are nearer to us. In the previous chapter, we have learned when the objects were kept at different distances, the images were going to be formed at different distances. But here, that is not the case. We want the image to be formed on retina only, so that focal length should be changed. And when the focal length is changed, we are able to see the distant and near object clearly. What happens here when the object is at far distance? Then the ciliary muscles are relaxed so that eye lens become thin and the focal length of the lens will increases at that time, so that image will be formed on the retina only even the object is at far away from us. Now we want the image of the object to be formed on the retina even when the object is nearer to us. Then we will see how is the case. Yes. See here when the object is nearer to us. When the object is near. What happens here? The ciliary muscles contract. And when the ciliary muscles contract, the eye lens will become thick. The curvature of the eye lens will increase. Eye lens become thick. What happens to the focal length of the eye lens? It will decrease. The focal length of eye lens decreases, so that we are able to see the near object clearly. And again the image is formed on the retina. So in both the cases, when the object is far away from us or when the object is nearer to us, in both the cases we get the image on the retina itself, so that we are able to see the objects clearly. This is the speciality of our eye lens. Now, even though the eye lens have flexibility of changing its focal length, but it cannot be changed above or below a certain limit. The focal length of our eyes has certain limit. and below the certain distance we are not able to see the objects. Try it yourself. Try to hold your book very nearer to the eyes. Are you able to see the letters which are printed on your notebook or textbook? Actually, it is not possible. Why? Because our eyes have certain limit of the distance up to which at which we are able to see that object clearly. And below that distance we are not able to see the object clearly. You try to hold the pen very nearer to your eyes and you can observe that you are not able to see that pen very clearly because our eye lens has certain limit of its focal length to change its focus, and the minimum distance at which you are able to and the minimum distance at which you are able to see the object clearly is called as least distance of distinct vision. It is also called as near point of eye. How do we define it? It is the minimum distance at which we are able to see the object clearly. It is the minimum distance at which we are able to see the objects clearly. And for an healthy young individual, this near point is 25 centimeter. It is for an young healthy individual. And also, for point of the eye means it is the distance, that is farthest distance up to which we are able to see the objects clearly. What do we mean by for point of the eye? It is the farthest distance to which we are able to see the objects clearly. And it is found to be infinity for an healthy individual. Means for an young healthy person who has no defect in the eyes, it is found to be infinity. Yes, the 4 point is infinity. So a person with normal eyes can see the objects clearly from 25 centimeter to infinity. So the person with healthy eyes can see the objects from 25 centimeter to infinity. And we are able to see many objects like sun, stars, moon, which are far away from us, and many other objects which are far away from us. So the farthest point up to which the objects can be seen clearly is called as farthest point of the eye. And a person with healthy eyes can see the objects clearly, from distance 25 centimeter to infinity. And many a times it happens there are defects in our eyes. Sometimes people may not be possible to see the objects which are nearer to us, and sometimes we are not able to see the objects away from us. Then the far point and the near point are not exactly these values, that is 25 centimeter and infinity. Now we are going to discuss about the defects which we face in our eyes and how do we correct that defect. Yes, this is about the power of accommodation. Now we have understood about the power of accommodation of our eyes, which is the ability of our eye lens to adjust its focal length. And also we know that this focal length cannot be adjusted above or below a certain limit. It has certain limit. So we have least distance of distinct vision, which says it is the minimum distance at which we are able to see the objects clearly. And farthest point of the eye means it is the farthest distance up to which we are able to see the objects clearly. Yes, all clear about this topic? Now let us move to the next topic. We are going to understand here the defects of vision and how do we correct them. So what do we mean by the defect myopia? It is a defect in which the person suffering from this myopia is able to see the nearby objects but cannot see the objects far away from him or her. It is also called as near-sightedness. Means the person is able to see only the objects nearby him or her. He or she is not able to see the distant objects clearly. In this defect, the person is able to see nearby objects but cannot see distant objects clearly. So, for the person suffering from myopia, the farthest point is nearer than infinity because the image is formed in front of the retina. For a myopic person, the image is formed in front of the retina and the farthest point is nearer than infinity. You can see here it is a far point of a myopic eye. We know that for a person who has normal eyes it is infinity. But in case of myopic eye it is nearer than infinity. It is somewhere here few meters away from our eyes. And when the object is placed above that point, he or she is not able to see that object clearly. If this point is the far point of the myopic eye, then whenever the object is placed away from this far point, that person suffering from myopic, that is myopia, is not able to see that object or person clearly. So, what is the reason behind it? What are the causes of this situation? Myopia. It is due to the elongation of the eyeball and excessive curvature of the lens. It is caused due to elongation of eyeball. When there is elongation of eyeball horizontally, then there is myopia. And also it is caused due to increasing curvature of the eye lens. When there is increase in the curvature of the eye lens, what happens? The eye lens will become thick. This will cause the decrease in focal length. See here, for a myopic eye, the image is formed in front of the retina here because the focal length has decreased because of increase in the curvature of eye lens here. These are the main two causes why the myopia is caused. It is due to the elongation of eyeball and increasing curvature of eye lens. This causes decrease in the focal length of the eye lens so that image is formed in front of the retina only. It is not formed on retina. Because of that, that person is not able to see the distant objects clearly. So actually what's happening here? These rays are converging at this point which we don't want. We want to converge these rays and form the image on the retina. So what can we do for this? We can use the concave lens here. Why do we use concave lens here? Because they have property of diverging the rays. What happens when these rays are diverged? So that these rays are going to meet after some time. They are not going to meet here only. This is the main use of this concave lens. Understand this properly. In case of myopia, the image is formed in front of the retina, which means the focal length of the lens is decreased and these rays are converging here only. But we don't want the rays to converge here. So we are using here concave lens so that these rays before entering into our eyes are diverged and they are converging after some time, so that image is formed on retina. You might have seen whenever a person is not able to see the distant objects, you go to doctor. What they suggest is they suggest the spectacles. and that spectacles is made up of concave lens for a myopic person. This is how we correct the myopia, by using concave lens. This is about the defect myopia. Now we are going to understand one more defect here, that is hypermetropia. It is the defect in which the person suffering from this is able to see the far away objects clearly, but they are not able to see the nearby objects clearly. This is also called as far-sightedness. Why these people are not able to see the object clearly? Because the image is formed behind the retina. It is defect where the person is not able to see nearby objects clearly. And for the persons who are suffering from hypermetropia, the near point of an eye is away from the near point of a normal eye. The near point is away from the near point of a normal eye. So what happens here? The focal length will increases, which causes the image to be formed behind the retina. So what do we mean by hypermetropia? It is a defect where the person is able to see the further objects clearly, but they are not able to see the nearby objects clearly. Then why does this causes? It is caused due to more focal length of the eye lens. It is due to the fact that focal length of eyes is too long, and also when the eyeball is too small. What happens when focal length of eyes is too long? Then the image is formed behind the retina. This is retina. For a person who is suffering from hypermetropia, he has longer focal length, because of which this image is formed behind the retina, so that he is not able to see that nearby object. In this picture you can see this is the near point of the hypermetropic eye. If the object is held nearer than this point, that person is not able to see that object clearly. The near point of this hypermetropic eye is away from the normal near point of the eye. See here, the object is placed here, which is nearer than the near point of the hypermetropic eye. What happens here? Due to the longer focal length of the lens, these are converged at longer distance, and the image is formed behind the retina, because of which they are not able to see the object clearly. So what do we need? What do we need to do is, we have to converge these rays nearer than this point, so that image is formed exactly on the retina. How can we do this? For converging the rays, which type of lens can we use? Exactly, we can use the convex lens. When the convex lens are used, what happens? These rays are converged in a shorter distance. See, in this picture, we are using here the convex lens, so that the rays coming from it are converged from this convex lens. And when this converged rays enter into our eyes, these are refracted and converged at this position only, and we get the image on the retina. They are not going to converge further away from this point, because we have used here convex lens in order to converge them at a nearer distance, that is at the exact distance where image can be formed on retina. So the correction that we can use is convex lens. So in order to correct this disease, we have to use the convex lens. Convex lens is used. So all clear about hypermetropia? For hypermetropia, we will use the convex lens for correction. Now, the next defect is presbyopia. It is the defect of vision which is caused as a result of aging. It is caused because of decreased in the power of accommodation of the eyes as a result of aging. It is caused due to weakening of the ciliary muscles and also decrease in the flexibility of the eye lens as the people age, so that the people are not able to see the nearby objects clearly. It is the defect of vision caused as a result of aging. This is due to decrease in the power of accommodation of the eyes. Why it is caused? It is due to the weakening of the ciliary muscles and also diminished flexibility of eye lens. And in many cases, the people after aging they suffer from both hypermetropia and myopia. In such cases, we need to use the two types of lens in our spectacles. That is called as bifocal lens. A common type of bifocal lens consists of concave lens on the upper part and convex lens on the lower part. So, in many cases, the people suffer from both myopia and hypermetropia. So, to correct this defect, we have to use the bifocal lens. What does this bifocal lens consist of? It consists of both the concave and convex lens. This concave lens is present in the upper part of the spectacle. It is placed at upper portion. And this convex lens is placed in the lower portion. This is how the correction of the defect is done when the person who suffers from both hypermetropia and myopia. And this presbyopia is caused as a result of aging. Because of aging, there is weakening of ciliary muscles and also there is diminished flexibility of the eye lens. And we will use the bifocal lens when a person suffers from both myopia and hypermetropia, where it consists of both concave lens and convex lens. The upper portion of the lens is made up of concave lens and the lower portion is made up of convex lens. This is how we will correct the defects in our eyes.